The American colleagues in my research group believe that the reconvergence between America and its G7 allies, along with other compatible partners, depends on an internal balancing of Donald Trump's actions. This is based on the growing number of signals indicating that while America rebels against the world it created, the world itself, both friends and foes, is rebelling against the dominance of an America led in such disruptive ways. The American colleagues believe these signals will lead to a more balanced approach from the Trump administration, where signs of divergence and even desires for resignations are already noticeable, and they suggest a patient attitude for the EU and its allies. The European colleagues, during video calls, expressed more skepticism about this optimistic hypothesis but shared their analysis of the signals in a non-emotional manner. The most indicative signal is the convergence between China, South Korea, and Japan. Tokyo and Seoul are securing an outlet in China in case of excessive barriers in the US market, and Beijing has granted it. Also noteworthy is the meeting between China's foreign policy supervisor and Putin. Support was offered to prevent Moscow from being repositioned against China, a move pursued by Trump, which has slowed down the Russia-America bilateral relationship. Beijing also blocked the sale of dozens of ports by one of its companies to a Swiss-American consortium, including 2 strategic ones on the Panama Canal. However, it has not devalued the yuan, at least for now, to counteract the impact of tariffs. It might do so in the future, but it wants to signal that China is both a calm force and a power symmetrical to America. Iran is also resisting, partly thanks to discreet Chinese support against American pressure. Washington has sent stealth bombers to a Pacific base as a deterrent against Iran and potentially China, but Beijing responded by increasing military pressure against Taiwan. Most significant, however, is the internal crisis of confidence in the United States, fears of a combined recession and inflation due to disruptions in the trade cycle, concerns about the dollar's stability as the world's reference currency, and so on. Trump's threat against Canada if it allies with the EU shows that such an option, possible, like the ongoing negotiations between the EU and Mexico, as well as Mercosur and India, was not anticipated in his analyses, nor was Greenland's resistance. It should be noted that for the Lobito Railway Corridor, Angola, useful for the rapid transfer of strategic minerals, America is working with Italy and Europeans, a small sign of convergence in the African area. However, the prevailing signals indicate the world's adaptation to reduced dependence on the American market. Therefore, the likelihood of a correction in American excitement is realistic and suggests a patient negotiating approach for America's allies, with a method of gradual convergence on trade reciprocity. A technical scenario detail: if Trump hopes to gain $6 trillion in 10 years through tariffs, he has miscalculated, as he could lose even more.